What if everything you've been taught about success is actually sabotaging your happiness? We live in a world that tells us that more is always better. More achievement, more productivity, more speed. But have you ever reached the finish line only to feel a quiet emptiness inside? A sense that no matter how fast you run, you are still not arriving? You are not alone in this feeling. It is the silent exhaustion of a soul that has been running for far too long on a path that was never truly its own. If you feel lost, overwhelmed, or like you're constantly performing for others, then this message is for you. For so many women in midlife, especially in America, we have become experts at ignoring the very signals that could guide us towards genuine peace. We have learned to silence the whispers of our own intuition with the noise of endless to-do lists and the crushing weight of external expectations. We mistake this constant motion for meaning, but your soul knows the difference. This video is not about adding one more thing to your plate. It is about the quiet, radical power that comes from taking things away. It will reveal why hitting the brakes on this perpetual hustle is the courageous act needed to finally unlock your deepest, most authentic wisdom and to hear the voice that has been waiting patiently beneath the noise. This journey is not an escape from your life. It is an invitation to come home to yourself. There is a myth in our modern world, a dangerous myth. It whispers to us from the moment we wake up to the moment our exhausted heads hit the pillow. It tells us that our worth is measured by our productivity, by how much we can do, how fast we can go. And so we run. We run on a hamster wheel of endless tasks, fueled by caffeine and the fear of falling behind. We collect achievements like trophies, hoping that one more will finally make us feel whole. This is the perpetual hustle. It's the invisible pressure to be everything to everyone, the perfect mother, the dedicated employee, the supportive partner, the dutiful daughter. It is the hum of anxiety that lives just beneath the surface, a constant feeling that we are never quite enough. For women in America, especially those navigating the complex terrain of midlife, this pressure can be crushing. We carry the weight of the sandwich generation, caring for both growing children and aging parents. We navigate careers, relationships, and the profound changes within our own bodies. Society hands us a script that says our value lies in our service to others, in our ability to keep going, no matter the cost to our own soul. And the cost is immense. It is a deep, profound soul fatigue, a tiredness that sleep cannot cure. It's the feeling of being spread so thin that you can no longer find your own center. It's the quiet ache of a life lived for external validation, a life spent performing instead of simply being. You check all the boxes, you meet all the deadlines, you show up for everyone. But when you are alone, in the quiet moments, do you recognize the person you have become? This exhaustion is not a personal failure. It is a sign, a sacred signal that the way you have been living is no longer sustainable. But what is the alternative? In a world that screams for more, the answer is a quiet revolution. It is the siren call of stillness. Now, the word stillness can be frightening. We have been conditioned to fear it. To do nothing feels lazy, unproductive, even selfish. We are experts at filling every empty moment with noise. The podcast in the car, the social media scroll while waiting in line, the news playing in the background. We have become strangers to silence. But what if I told you that this fear is the very lock on the cage that keeps you trapped? What if doing nothing was the most productive thing you could possibly do for your soul? The call to stillness is not a demand to abandon your responsibilities. It is not a call to retreat from the world. It is an invitation to create small, sacred pockets of quiet amidst the chaos of your life. It can be as simple as 5 minutes in your car before you walk into the house, with the engine off and the radio silent, just breathing. It can be the conscious choice to drink your morning coffee without your phone in your hand, simply feeling the warmth of the mug and looking out the window. It can be a walk in nature without headphones, listening only to the sounds of the world around you. These are not empty moments. These are moments of reconnection. When you intentionally disconnect from the digital noise and the external demands, you create a space, a quiet, empty space. At first, this space might feel uncomfortable. Anxiety might surface. The endless to-do list might scream for your attention. This is normal. This is the resistance of a mind that has been trained to run. But if you can sit in that discomfort just for a moment longer than you think you can, something profound begins to happen. The frantic energy begins to settle. The mental chatter begins to quiet down. And in that quiet, you begin to hear something else. A different voice, a softer, deeper signal that has been there all along, buried beneath the noise of the hustle. This is not about adding another wellness task to your list. It is about a radical act of subtraction. It is about giving yourself the gift that no one else can give you, the gift of your own undivided presence. This is the first step in the journey homeward, because this is where the real work begins. When the noise of the world fades, the whispers of your soul can finally be heard. These whispers are the language of your inner compass. And in the next part, we will learn how to listen to them. We will learn how to trust them. And we will learn how they can guide you back to the person you were always meant to be. So you have created a moment of quiet. You have dared to sit in the stillness, even for just a few minutes. And in that quiet, you have felt the first faint echo of a different signal. But what is this signal, and how can it possibly guide you through the complexity of your life? Think of your inner world like this. You have 2 radio stations constantly playing inside of you. The first one is the station of the outer world. It plays loud, it plays fast, it is full of static, the noise of society's expectations, the relentless beat of your to-do list, the shouting voices of self-criticism and doubt. This is the station of your conscious mind, your ego. It is logical, analytical, and obsessed with keeping you safe by following the rules. For decades, you have been trained to keep the volume on this station turned all the way up. But there is another station, a much quieter one, the station of the inner world. It doesn't play pop music. It plays the deep, resonant music of your soul. Its frequency is subtle. Its signal is soft. This is the station of your unconscious mind, the home of your intuitive, your deep knowing, your authentic self. For years, you haven't been able to hear it, not because it stopped broadcasting, but because the other station was simply too loud. Slowing down, creating stillness, is the act of reaching out your hand and consciously turning down the volume on the station of the outer world. It's not about shutting it off completely. You still need it to navigate your day. But for a few moments, you turn it down low enough so that for the first time in a long time, you can finally hear the faint, beautiful melody from that other deeper place. This is the unearthing of your inner compass. It doesn't speak to you in spreadsheets or logical arguments. It speaks a much older, more primal language. It speaks through your body. That sudden tightness in your chest when you're about to agree to something you don't want to do, that is your inner compass saying no. That feeling of warmth, that expansion when you talk to a certain person, that is your inner compass saying yes. It speaks to you through aha moments, those sudden flashes of insight that seem to come from nowhere when you're in the shower or driving in silence. You'll be wrestling with a problem for weeks, your logical mind running in circles, and then, in a moment of quiet, the perfect, simple answer just appears. That is not a random thought. That is a broadcast from your inner wisdom. And it speaks to you through your intuition, that quiet, nagging feeling that something isn't right, even when everything looks perfect on the surface. That unexplainable pull towards a new hobby, a new city, a new path that makes no logical sense. That is the needle of your inner compass, pointing you towards your true north. The great psychologist Carl Jung, he dedicated his life to mapping this inner world. He understood that the most profound wisdom doesn't come from the striving, busy ego. It emerges from the quiet, vast depths of the unconscious. He taught that the journey of midlife is not about acquiring more from the outside world, but about integrating the wisdom that has been waiting for you on the inside. This process is your birthright. It is the journey of becoming whole. But I want to be honest with you. When you first start listening, this inner voice may be weak. It may feel foreign and untrustworthy. The loud voice of your logical mind will rush in to dismiss it. It will say, "That's just a silly feeling. That's not practical. What will people think?" This is the great challenge, learning to trust the quiet whisper over the familiar shout. It is like learning a new language, the language of your own soul. At first, you only catch a word here and there. It requires patience. It requires faith. It requires the courage to honor a feeling even when you cannot yet logically explain it. But the more you practice, the more you create those small pockets of stillness, the stronger that quiet signal becomes. It is a muscle, and the more you use it, the more powerful it gets. Slowly, you begin to build a relationship with this inner guidance system. You learn its nuances. You learn its rhythm. You begin to realize that it has never once steered you wrong. And this changes everything. Because you start to understand that you are not lost. You have never been lost. You have simply been listening to the wrong station. You have a guidance system within you that is more powerful and more accurate than any external advice you could ever receive. But hearing its wisdom is only the first step. The next step, the most courageous step of all, is learning to act on it. It is about aligning your outer life with the profound truth of your inner world. That is the journey of reclaiming your true north. And that is where we will go next. You have heard the whisper. You have felt the quiet signal of your inner compass. It is a profound and beautiful moment, a homecoming. But this is where the most courageous part of the journey begins, because it is one thing to hear the truth. It is another thing entirely to live it. This is the work of reclaiming your true north. Imagine you have spent your life living in a house that someone else designed for you. The walls were painted colors you didn't choose. The furniture was arranged to please guests you didn't invite. You learned to navigate it in the dark. You learned to call it home, but it was never truly yours. Listening to your inner compass is realizing for the first time that you are not just a resident in this house. You are the architect. You have the blueprints. You have always had them. Reclaiming your true north is the process of picking up those blueprints and slowly, intentionally, starting to rebuild. It is the profound strength that comes from aligning your actions, your choices, your relationships with your inner wisdom. But when you start to move the furniture, when you start to repaint the walls, people will notice. And this is where the great fear arises, the fear of judgment. The voice of your logical mind, the station of the outer world will scream at you. What will they think? You are being selfish. You are disappointing people. Who do you think you are? This is the moment of truth. For decades, you have been conditioned to believe that your worth comes from pleasing others. So when you choose your own path, a path guided by your soul, not by society, it will feel like a rebellion. And in a way, it is. It is a rebellion against the myth that you exist to meet the expectations of others. It is the declaration that your peace, your authenticity, your inner alignment matters. It matters more. Overcoming this fear is not about becoming cold or uncaring. It is about learning to care for yourself with the same fierce tenderness you have always given to everyone else. It is about realizing that you cannot pour from an empty cup, and living a life that is not your own is the fastest way to become empty. So how do you begin? How do you start this quiet revolution? It does not begin with a dramatic, life-altering decision. It begins with small, consistent acts of self-honor. It begins with embracing the quiet revolution in your daily life. This is not about adding more to your to-do list. This is about changing the quality of your attention. Here are a few practical places to start. First, conduct a gentle morning audit. Before you pick up your phone, before the demands of the day rush in, lie in bed for just 2 minutes. Place a hand on your heart and ask your inner self a simple question. What do I truly need today? Not what does my family need, not what does my job need. What do I need? Maybe the answer is 5 minutes of silence. Maybe it's a walk outside. Maybe it's permission to say no to something. Just listen. You don't have to solve it all. The act of asking is the beginning of listening. Second, practice the sacred no. As women, we are often taught that no is a harsh word, but a no to the outside world is often a deep and loving yes to the inner world. Start small. When you are asked to do something that brings that familiar feeling of tightness in your chest, pause. Instead of the automatic yes, try saying, "Let me think about that and get back to you." This small space you create is a space of power. It gives you a moment to check in with your inner compass and honor its guidance. Third, schedule a curiosity date. Think back to a time in your life before the weight of responsibility settled in. What did you love to do? What made you feel alive? Was it painting? Reading a novel in a park? Exploring a new part of town? Your soul remembers these things, even if your busy mind has forgotten. Schedule 1 hour a week just for you, an appointment with your own curiosity. No goal, no purpose, other than to explore what feels good. This is not an indulgence. It is an act of remembering who you are beneath all the roles you play. These are not just actions. They are sustainable habits that honor your inner rhythm. They are small ways of telling your inner self, "I hear you. I see you. You matter." And this creates a powerful ripple effect. When a woman reclaims her inner wisdom, when she begins to live from a place of authenticity and peace, she does not become smaller. She becomes a lighthouse. Her quiet confidence gives other people permission to find their own. Her grounded presence calms the storms around her.
Her personal wisdom empowers a more meaningful existence, not just for herself, but for everyone she touches. This is the quiet power of slowing down. It is the journey from a life of frantic motion to a life of profound meaning.
And so we arrive at the end of this beginning. We began this journey together, feeling the exhaustion of the hustle, the quiet emptiness that comes from running a race that was never meant for us. We stood at the edge of that frantic world, and we listened. We listened for a different sound, the siren call of stillness. We learned that this stillness is not empty, it is a sacred space, a space where the noise of the outer world finally fades and the whisper of your inner world can be heard. We gave this whisper a name, your inner compass, your true north, a guidance system that has been with you all along, patiently waiting for you to turn down the volume on the world and turn up the volume on your own soul. And finally, we discovered that reclaiming this inner wisdom is not a passive act. It is a courageous revolution. It is the courageous choice to honor what you feel, to build a life from the inside out, one small sacred act at a time. This is the journey. From a life of performing to a life of presence. From chasing external validation to cultivating internal peace. Please know this, the path homeward is not a straight line. There will be days when the noise of the world feels deafening again. There will be moments when you forget to listen. That is okay. That is part of being human. The goal is not perfection. The goal is a gentle return. Again and again, you can choose to come back to the quiet. You can choose to ask, what do I truly need? You can choose to listen to the answer. Your exhaustion is not a failure. It was never a failure. It was a sacred summons, a loving invitation from the deepest part of you to come home. You are not broken. You are simply remembering your own wholeness, one quiet moment at a time. If this message has resonated with you, if you have felt a flicker of recognition in your own soul, I invite you to join this quiet revolution. Share in the comments below one small way you will embrace stillness this week. It does not have to be grand, it just has to be true. Your story, your simple act of self-honor, could be the permission that someone else has been desperately waiting for. Let us create a community of lighthouses for one another. And as you begin this journey into stillness, I want to prepare you for the next sacred step. Because know this, after the rush, the quiet can sometimes bring a profound, authentic loneliness. In our next video, we will discover why this feeling isn't a flaw to be fixed, but is in fact your soul's most sacred and courageous invitation to meet your true self. You will find the tools you need to navigate this powerful space and transform what feels like an ending into your greatest beginning. Thank you for sharing this quiet space with me. Be gentle with yourself. You are on your way.